The hills of Appalachia are full of tales of all manners of ghosts and monsters. But today we're going to be talking about a Banshee. Kind of. The entity that we're going to talk about today is said to have foretold the demise of several of the most powerful men throughout history. The President of the United States of America. Like the people who hold the office, not the 90s rock band. And this ghost is said to have foretold the demise of three presidents in particular. Lincoln, Garfield, and Kennedy, which I know the United States public education system kinda sucks, but those three men had something in common, and since it's probably been about 30 seconds and YouTube no longer cares, yeah, this is a ghost that foretells the assassination of United States presidents. Today, we are going to talk about the ghost of Horse Creek. And if you like ghost stories and tales of the supernatural and the macabre, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and as always, thank you for watching. The tale of the ghost of Horse Creek was first written about in the 1970s by an individual named Jim Comstock. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find any of these original articles by Jim Comstock, so the main source I'm using for this video is the wvexplorer.com article written about the ghost of Horse Creek. Definitely check out wvexplorer.com. They have a lot of excellent resources as far as ghost stories, folklore, and travel and history information about the mountain state of West Virginia. So yeah, definitely go support them, definitely go check them out. Our story begins in April of 1865. At that time, two men, one Walter Hanson and Elijah Miller, were out hunting along the hills of Horse Creek in West Virginia. All of a sudden, they heard a rustling nearby, and they turned to look, and there's just a woman standing there. This woman seemingly just appeared out of nowhere. She was wearing a long black dress, and she was slightly damp. And that is a recurring theme throughout all these. For some reason, anytime anyone sees this ghost, it's female, it's wearing a black dress, and it's like slightly wet for some reason. Don't worry about it, I'm sure it doesn't matter. And before the hunters could ask any questions like who was she, where did she come from, why was she there, why was she slightly wet, she just kind of pointed at them and told them that President Lincoln would be dead before the next full moon. They kind of looked at each other and was like, oh, this is just a crazy, slightly damp woman in the middle of the woods, but whenever they turned back to her, she had just vanished into thin air. And as we all know, on April 14th that same year, Abraham Lincoln would enter Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., where he was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth. And this seems like a really cool story because it is, but this encounter supposedly happened on April 8th. Abraham Lincoln was assassinated on April 14th. Unfortunately, you can look up the moon calendar for pretty much every single year throughout history. In 1865, the full moon in April fell on the 11th. So the ghost was off by a couple days, but don't let a thing like a calendar get in the way of a good story, okay? We're here for a good story. Death omens aren't super uncommon in Appalachia. There are all sorts of death omens and superstitions regarding death throughout the mountains. If a picture falls off the wall by itself, someone in the household will die. If you hear a screech owl during the daytime, someone is going to die. Or if a bird flies into your house, someone in that household is soon going to pass away. There's a million of these omens, and they go super far back in the hills of Appalachia. But this story is also similar to the Irish folklore of the Banshee. A Banshee is a spirit from Irish folklore who said that its screaming and wailing is said to foretell someone's death. Now, the ghost wasn't seen again until 1881, when Clyde Purdue and his wife was heading home from a church service. They saw this entity again. This time, it was taking the form of like a glowing, floating skull with like a black veil covering it, but they knew it was the same entity because, yep, you guessed it, the black veil was like sopping wet, like it was dripping with water, so they're like, yep, it's the same ghost. And that same year, President Garfield was shot twice at the 6th Street station in Washington, D.C., and he would die from these injuries. Like 2 months later, but still, the ghost definitely predicted this one too. He would actually pass away like September 19th that same year, and it's generally agreed upon by historians that he died more of just infection and a lack of medical knowledge than actually the gunshot wounds, which isn't funny. It's not funny. But history is just weird like that. Also, weird history. So, Robert Todd Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln's son, was actually there with Garfield that day when Garfield was shot. Another weird, like, historical coincidence. Before Lincoln was shot, Todd Lincoln was riding on a train. He was going from New Jersey back to Washington, D.C. He was trying to step from one train car, I think it was like a canteen, like restaurant train car, to another train car, and he started to slip and he almost fell in between the train cars, which, yeah, that's where the train wheels, train tires live. Like, that would have killed him instantly. But someone reached out and grabbed him and pulled him back to safety, and Robert Todd, like, turned around and looked at the guy, and it was a super famous actor from that time period. This guy had been touring all over the United States, playing Hamlet in the Shakespearean play Hamlet. And so Robert Todd Lincoln immediately recognizes this guy, and he's like, oh my goodness, you're Edwin Booth. John Wilkes Booth's younger brother. History is weird sometimes. In 1963, a traveling magazine salesman was driving his car along Horse Creek when he saw an entity standing on the side of the road. This time it had taken the form again of a woman in a long black, slightly damp. They never explained that. I really wish they would explain the slightly damp part. Dress. And by this point, the legend had become fairly well known in the area, so he saw her while driving, and he was just like, no, I am not stopping. And generally good advice, if you see a slightly damp goth lady on the side of the road, yeah, don't stop. Just keep going. Nothing good will become of that. Now, coincidentally, at the same time, and for several years before that, then President JFK had been threatening to dismantle the CIA and wanted more government oversight and regulation over the Federal Reserve. Well, then John F. Kennedy went to Dallas, Texas, and it's weird that his head just randomly did that. And with that, the Ghost of Horse Creek is batting 3 for 3. The Banshee that supposedly shows up before presidents are assassinated. So what's your thoughts on the Ghost of Horse Creek? Let me know down in the comments. If you made it till this long, you like this video, subscribe to the channel, leave a like. It really helps us grow. And let me know about any other weird ghost stories from Appalachia you would like for me to cover. Also, book recommendations. I think I pretty much have every ghost story book, or most of the ghost story books, from here in West Virginia. If you're from any other state surrounding West Virginia, or any state in Appalachia, and you know of a good local ghost story book, let me know down in the comments so I can add it to my collection and cover more stories in the future. But until next time, don't forget to stay wild, stay wonderful. If your first thought upon hearing about a topic that was even slightly political was to go down into the comment section and start like a witch hunt, try deodorant. But until next time, I'll talk to you later.